Hey, leader. Welcome to Stop, Drop, and Roll, the podcast dedicated to empowering you at the intersection of work and home in leadership, with or without the title. I'm Jen Caceres, here to meet you right where you are and help you intentionally grow as you reflect, observe, listen, and evolve along your leadership journey. Welcome back to Stop, Drop, and Roll. This is Jen Caceres, and I am very excited today to introduce my guest, Zoe Bishop. Zoe, welcome.
Hello. Hi. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Zoe, let us know, where are you joining us from?
So I'm actually in Wetherby, which is in West Yorkshire in the UK.
Oh, right. Zoe, I'm excited to get into what you do, who you are, how you're impacting the world. Can you start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. My name's Zoe Bishop and I'm a professional encourager. I help busy professionals by opening their eyes to positivity, gratitude, self-love, and reflection through workshops, calls, private programs, in-person wellbeing days, and my Blessed Before You're Dressed store. I'm on a bit of a mission and assignment from getting people from feeling stuck to moving forward, because sometimes all it takes is the right reminder to reignite your spark. So, yeah, that's what I do.
I love that. Sometimes it just takes a reminder to reignite your spark. I really love that. I
Yeah.
do. When I think about Stop, Drop, and Roll and kind of the concept of the podcast, and where we think of being on fire and there's something going on and something that's just not right and putting out the fire, but this is really embracing that spark and the fire within. So switching it around a little bit today, right now, just to really meet us where we're at, stopping and pausing and thinking about how can we embrace your topic and what you do to really spark us, right? To really think about how to be encouraged, how to get into a place of positivity versus a lot of the things that we eh, might experience as leaders or in the workplace, because sometimes there's that feeling of, oh my gosh, everybody's so positive. And then there are people who look at individuals like that and they're like, how does that even happen? How do you get there? So I want to dig into that professional encourager that you mentioned. How did that come about for you? Tell us how you got started.
Yeah. Basically, it was from a coaching call. And it was this whole area of encouragement. It was where I felt most comfortable and happy. My coach asked that question: if there was anything in the world that you can do, the world is your oyster, what would it be? And this is following, like, I had a career in marketing, I had a career in sports, in the community side of things, had my own marketing business, and then I got into wellness. And so all of these experiences coming along, but I just really felt that what I love to do is encourage people. It was even in that moment that I had that light bulb moment. And I was like, that's what I love to do. And that's what I've naturally been born to do. And I just wanted to be a cheerleader. And so it just stemmed from there. So after like working for 20 years and finding myself in this place, yeah, I just suddenly thought that's what I'd love to do. I love doing that. And then suddenly those words, oh, I just want to be a professional encourager. I want to do that for people that I don't know. My company name is now Torchlight Wellbeing, but it was Torchlight Marketing. So it's always been that kind of fire. And I said at the beginning, helping to give people that spark. And yeah, I feel like I've been gifted and it's my assignment to do that. And whether that is work, whether that's as a mom, as a friend, as a family member, or even play netball. So even on the court.
I think that's so important. All the places that you just mentioned, as a mom, at work, leading your life wherever you are. And that really is such a great reminder to not forget that it's just, oh, I need to be happy at work or I need to go in and be positive, but I need to make sure that I'm okay and feeling good all the time, no matter where I am. So I like that reminder too. You are absolutely super positive and encouraging with the blessed before you're dressed. What were some things that you think influenced you to become that person?
I think that's a really interesting question. it's been the relationship that I've had with those I've invested in, those to support me. This is particularly like from a business point of view, having a mentor. I've got an amazing business strategy coach called Catherine Morehouse, and she, funnily enough, started as my Pinterest manager go to, but then she grew that into more mindset, working with her, working with someone who's now my associate, but I did lots of positivity courses with her, life coaching with her. And they've been instrumental, like in my encouragement journey. But I feel like it's always been there. So whether that's my family has had a really important role to play in that. I have a strong Christian faith. So I believe God has always given me that gift of encouragement. So it's just always been there. That's as a spiritual gift, because I think also one of those things is you sometimes think, but isn't everybody like this? Isn't everyone always try and get the best out of people? And isn't that what everyone does? And then you suddenly realize, actually, no, they don't. And you need to work on this. And it's also funny, I've had this positive mindset in a lot of my old roles as well. And I remember being part of this team that was called Team Positive. And that was amongst other colleagues who weren't so positive. Looking back in hindsight, it's a great thing because I can see all these little things. I find it also quite natural to connect with people with a lot of the well-being work I've done. I know one of the 5 ways to well-being is connection. And I can always try to see potential in people as well. And I think that's just naturally come to me, which is why I find myself in the role that I'm in right now.
Positivity group, was that at work?
Yes, bizarre. It was just called Team Positive, but we were our
Okay.
own little clique. It wasn't even anything official. It was, come on, Team Positive. We're going to think positive. We're going to be like this. We're not going to let those other team members like drag us down when they want to. So I used to look back at that and think, yes, I was a founding member.
That is really interesting. I wonder if there are resource groups. I don't know what you have in the UK, but here we have employee resource groups that will form. And I'm just wondering and curious if there are any of those out there for positivity or hope or gratitude.
Yeah. I mean, there probably are, but more within personal kind of stuff rather than organized.
It is something to think about. So it sounds like some of the encouragement is just innate in you, and some of it maybe you've been influenced by the coaches and the people that you've been working with. I really like your story because I think we all have some natural strengths and natural gifts
Yeah.
that allow us to lean into those things. But you also mentioned your faith and agree with you on that. We share that. And I think you and I had this conversation another time where you do think that everybody else is just wired like you are, and you're wondering, like, what are they so upset about? Or why aren't they seeing what I'm seeing?
Mm.
And it really does come down to some of those personal, just foundational beliefs and things like that, right?
Yes, 100%.
So it sounds like as you're reflecting back on how you got started, a lot of that has been natural and just kind of part of you and instilled in you. And you mentioned Etsy. Tell us a little bit about that, the line of things that you have on Etsy that help people reflect and go into that space.
Yeah, so I have what I call is like my mantra, which is best before you're dressed. And this is like my gratitude piece. I love sharing the ripple of gratitude. So I really wanted to just make products available that help you either send your gratitude to somebody else or help you to reflect. Within that store, I sell thank you cards, I sell their little postcards, come in a pack of 5. I sell affirmation postcards, which you can buy for yourself to have up in your office or you can send to other people. There's also a notebook, a journaling prompts. Everything is centered around this kind of area of gratitude and how it can really benefit your life. And they're all branded with the blessed before you're dressed because the whole concept is you wake up, think of one thing that you're truly grateful for. There's a website that goes alongside it as well, spreading that ripple of gratitude. And maybe you're sending that thank you card to somebody, but then they see the brand on there. They're like, what is this? How can I get involved? I'm really interested. And I've got a post that goes out on LinkedIn every single day with that message, which is just one of those posts that just gets you to wake up and think, my eyes are still open, I'm still alive. and encouraging people to just think about one thing. And it can be anything from something tiny, from, yeah, I'm grateful for my slippers, or I'm grateful for just having my favorite bedding on, or the tiniest things that we might take for granted. I've got a roof over my head. But what I found personally is it helps you to start your day on the right foot. And if you can just start that positivity and gratitude first thing, it then ripples out. And I love sharing it because gratitude ripples. I wanted to have a way of sharing that brand like with the world.
That goes along a lot with when we find ourselves in one of these places where there's a problem and we maybe aren't seeing all of that, but it allows us to remember the things that we can be grateful for. Like you said, waking up and just having at least one thing where you're positive, you're thinking about, I am grateful for this. And it allows us to maybe drop the negative story that we're telling ourselves about whatever that big thing is in life, and then truly reflecting and thinking about it in a different light. Okay, yes, this one thing is not great, but look at all these other things that I have to be grateful for. And then just starting out on that kind of that journey.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And our brains are wired to be negative. So I like to make this point on whenever I'm sharing, they are like 80% of our thoughts are negative. So you do have to work hard to overcome this negativity bias and overcome all these negative thoughts, like with positive ones. So yeah, it's giving ourselves as much positive energy and positive affirmations as we can.
That is great to really roll into the next question that I have for you. As we observe ourselves and thinking about our own place in leadership, but also in others, people that are leading either at work or at home, what are some relational patterns or maybe some self talk traps that you've seen when you've spoken with people? Maybe you've seen them in leaders or just in individuals that are getting in the way.
Yeah. So I think that self-talk traps, they are like everywhere. And I see it really often in working mums. And the way that we talk about ourselves, like, is just crazy. I'm not good at this. Oh, I'm so this, or I'm so that. I think this whole self talk and how we talk to ourselves, why we seem critical on ourselves, it is our inner critic that's working against us all the time. I see imposter syndrome a lot as well. You'll feel on the back foot with your ability and achievements. And you'll really, and I think we're bad at this as moms, like you'll just play things down. Oh, it was nothing. It was nothing. Like I didn't really do anything. But what I really want to do is just help people to be like, no, I did. I delivered on that. I did a really great job. I'm really proud of myself and owning it because I didn't know if it's more of a British culture, but we're a bit like, oh, yeah, but it was okay. I didn't really do that. It's nothing. No, I did do that, delivered, particularly to be like a role model to our children and be like, yes, I really did show up for this. And that's another thing. Like, I cringe when parents put their children down, focusing on things that they can't do or not what they can. Particularly because we live in a comparison dominated society. It's like, oh, mine can't do that yet. My child's doing that yet. But instead of saying, oh, do you know what? My child is doing this, and trying to reverse that no into yes. And just, I think we do sometimes become our own worst enemy. And yeah, I have a negativity radar as well. And like sometimes you can just see it in people and you'll say, oh, maybe you could phrase that just a bit differently, or think of how making them feel in themselves. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Don't drop it. And it's like, think of, oh, carry it carefully. It's just really little things that you could tweak. But again, it takes, it takes patience and time. So I'm not saying that any of this is easy, but it's just maybe noticing those little negative things creeping in, whether that's you doing it to yourself or to others around you.
Yeah, and that absolutely goes hand in hand with just observing. So, body language, how are you talking to yourself? How are you treating yourself? Are you doing self-care? Are you mirroring something that you experienced as a child and now putting that onto your own kids or putting that onto your team at work if you're a leader? How would you explain to help leaders, let's just say at work or at home, to get that sort of cheerleader voice back, maybe they don't know or they aren't really aware. So, how can they get that back or encourage that in their teams?
Yeah. So I think like it is all about listening by the language that they're using both to themselves and their teams. I think a big one is by reviewing how small wins are celebrated, like within the organization or within a family context, because you need to recognize these small wins. And whether you are doing that by project updates, but celebrating the little, not getting to this massive, yeah, we've done this, we've built this, or we've done that, but actually, oh, we've got this part in. But a lot of it comes from listening and listen in your organization. How is everyone else talking to everybody? What is the kind of vibe? Do you go in? Is it a positive vibe? Or does everyone feel like they're talking on eggshells? And as a
Mm.
leader, how are people receiving you? I think it's about just looking at, exploring what things are going on and listening to the language that's coming back to you. And those conversations, like over the water cooler and, not just around the projects and the work stuff, but knowing your staff members and yeah, finding out about them and finding out about what does make them tick and how can they then develop language that's going to resonate with them, motivate them by taking notice and knowing that your people are your biggest asset and you want to make sure that your voice is being that voice of encouragement and how you can do that in the best way.
I think that's something that's really difficult for individuals who maybe, like I mentioned before, you might have this thing from the past, whether that's you were under, I don't like to use this word too often, but some toxic leadership, right? Or
Mm,
you grew up in a home where it was predominantly don't, you
mm,
can't, or why in a tone. And so, like you mentioned, understanding the people you work with. You're a mom, I'm a mom, and we know that if we have more than one child, we can't approach the children exactly the same.
exactly. Exactly. And it's more about the how, not the why. Try and focus on that and not because the why, if you use the word why, it's like can be seen in more of an aggressive tone. So, oh, how could we approach this differently? How come this might not have worked in the best way rather than why didn't this work?
Absolutely. Yeah, and then just knowing how they like to be recognized.
Exactly. Yeah, because some people, and this is what I find with my encourager programs, is some people really like short little WhatsApps. Other people like an email. Other people like a LinkedIn message. Other people like a voice note or a phone call. And everyone is so different. So it is like about meeting people. And some people, you'll probably know this from doing strength stuff as well, but some people like to be praised quite a lot. I'm a high yellow and I like that praise. But other people, they don't need that quite so often. So it is about, which again goes back to taking notice, knowing the difference between your staff members and what helps to motivate them. Because what works for one, like we said, like the same with the kids, is not going to work always for the other.
Yeah. So important to remember that. I think that just goes so far. What about the notion of toxic positivity? And again, this word toxic seems to be a buzzword that everybody's grabbing onto and throwing around a lot. So I don't like it. But what do you say? How do you make space to really encourage people and do things to recognize them and be positive? But how do you do that without slipping into that overly positive or being
Yeah.
almost dismissive?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is a real danger and toxic positivity. What that does is it dismisses difficult emotions. And that kind of says, I'm happy no matter what. And everything's going to be fine and everything's rosy. And it doesn't matter that the work, like the building is burning all around me, like everything's fine. Um, but I think with that, it's about noticing actual real emotions and noticing, yeah, this is really hard for me right now. And I think this is where gratitude can really help because it's just saying, yes, there are difficult circumstances, but there are still things that I can hold on to. Yes, I'm going through a challenge based on personal experience and things. I can lean into gratitude and that's what's been really powerful for me. And it's where gratitude can really help you reframe situations, because you're not saying this is not happening to me, but what you are saying is this has happened, but I can deal with it in a different way because I'm hanging on to that gratitude. So I can give an example, like from recently, I thought I was going to get a gig and thought I was going to be working with somebody, had put everything in place. And then I got that email saying, oh, unfortunately, we can't do it this year. We're going to move it to next year. And you're, oh, I am disappointed. So it's about recognizing that. But I pulled that presentation together. I pulled that proposal together, and I've got that now for next time. I actually cried because I'm like, I really want to work with the person. So I'm not saying that I'm dismissing it and I'm going to move on to the next thing, because yeah, it does matter and we all have feelings. But I've learned, and this has taken me a long time to learn, that actually things happen for a reason. That wasn't meant to be. And I'm grateful for that experience, which has been a game changer for me personally. And the amazing thing that I've seen is that with my kids, it started to register with them as well. So there's been situations like where the other day we were literally just about to go away for a couple of days. We were in the car and turn the engine on, like everything was packed, the car was packed right up, turn the engine, the car didn't start. But we're like, do you know what? And this is when I love it. My daughter was like, it's fine. Mum, Dad, we've got the other car. It's fine. There's obviously a reason. Like, to hear this saying back to you, like, there's obviously a reason we're not going in that car today. So when you hear that back and you're like, yeah, yeah. Because, it helps you. I think I've heard people say it before, you put your gratitude glasses on and you just get from that slightly different perspective. Whereas you could have been like, oh, this is the most annoying thing. Like, what are we going to do? How much is it going to cost? And all these things then just spiral. And then it suddenly starts to ruin your entire weekend. But actually, let me just think about this for a moment. We do have another car that we can use. We're still going to get there. We might be a little bit late, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, I think it's not just pretending that everything's fine. It's using gratitude in that way. So
That's a real thing. I think about, you and I were supposed to record a few weeks ago and I got sick and I thought, oh, this is awful. I have to tell her I can't record today. I had to cancel several other appointments that I had with clients. And then I sat back and I thought, there's a reason. I need to slow down. I need to catch up on other things, or I need to sleep, or I need to listen to my body. And it's like, just having that ability to see the light, whatever that light is, and find something to focus on and say, okay, like you said, there's a reason. And for those of us that have that faith base, it's okay, that wasn't in your plan.
yeah,
That it's out of my control. It's in his control. Just appreciating that about individuals and wherever we fall, whatever our beliefs are. But those are really, I think, crucial ways for us to be able to lean into that gratitude and just fully understand it just wasn't meant to be. It's going to go a different route, and be
yeah,
okay with that.
exactly. And I think the other thing to highlight is that, like, no one's life is perfect. And just because I work in well-being and because I'm a huge believer in positivity and gratitude, like, that also doesn't stop bad things like these challenges from happening, because it happens to us all.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Absolutely. They do. As much as people might say, oh, you must have a perfect life. You're
Yeah.
happy all the time.
No,
I cry. I feel,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And that's it. And that's what I think is really important, to own it. But actually crying is really good. Like, it's good. It's a good way to, like, release emotion.
On that same note, really thinking about growing. So in Stop, Drop, and Roll, the last step is to evolve. And I always think of that as growth. As we think about positivity and gratitude, your program really touches on what you say, intentional living. How do you think leaders can bring more intention into their relationships at work or families at home?
So being intentional, like, we can describe that as being like deliberate or purposive. So something that you want and that you plan to do. I think as leaders in the workplace, you can encourage this mindset. So you employees can get them to set their intentions like at the beginning of the day. How can you create a culture of tying that into their goals? because intention really becomes the first step to achieving them. So just from a work perspective, I used it like for showing up in meetings and being intentional about how I want to come across. I've looked at that, and before each meeting, I'll say to myself, like, okay, I want to come across as authentic because it's one of my values. I want to listen, and I also want to enjoy the chat. So maybe within those kind of meetings, get them to think about what do they want to get out of it, and really having that focus and switching on. And what do you want out of your day? Because if you start to think about it, again, we can bring that back to blessed before you're dressed, and letting that gratitude intention at the beginning of the day can be powerful. It's one of the journal prompts that I do every morning is like, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel like throughout the day? Maybe, so for example, today I might put productive. I want to feel confident, energized. And if you're actually laying them out in the beginning, I think that's super important. And just being intentional with each other. We're talking about connection and checking in. So I think there's loads of ways in which organizations can be intentional and getting their staff to think like that, encouraging them to use mentors, encouragers, coaches, use people to get the best out of them, and listening. Again, I think this has been like a recurring theme in our chat, is just create that listening and kind of thinking like culture.
I think it is something you have to do on purpose, right? It's like thinking about a meeting or, like you said, planning your whole day. What do I want to get out of it? Same thing goes for a meeting, just to have a meeting because we need to have it, right? And just trying to figure out like what is the best case scenario versus, oh, I have to have this meeting with this person that never talks and this person that's always on their
Yeah.
phone, right?
Yeah.
And it's that mind shift of really thinking in a different way. I like that. What is one practice from your encourager program that you have that could actually transform the way that a leader connects with their team?
I have within the Encourager program 8 topics that we kind of work through, either 8 weeks, 8 months, or however long they want that to be. And module number 3, funnily enough, is gratitude. And because it's a huge part of my life, and I do think that leaders can lean into gratitude. So that would be my thing for leaders and teams, and really appreciating their teams and just saying thank you. And not just for those big things when you've got a massive project done. I do think that is becoming a bit more of a hot topic for leaders. And, it's about how can you show that appreciation in different ways, whether that's recognizing their birthday or recognizing certain things about them, also being in gratitude as a leader and leading with that as a value, where just simply saying thank you if someone's held the door open for you. Or, and I think it's all these really tiny things that can really make a big difference to the culture of where you're working. And it's what's been really interesting for me with my Blessed Before You're Dressed thank you cards and affirmation cards is I have had a lot of businesses buy them for their staff members to hand out, or when they're welcoming new staff like into the organization. You get sent like a little card to welcome you to the team. There's a lot of research to say that people don't always want just more money. They just want a bit of recognition. They want a bit of appreciation. And just to know that they'd recognize that you stayed extra to get one thing done, which that isn't the culture of your office, but you've been willing to do that. So I think there's a lot of work that leaders can do to support their employees using gratitude.
Yeah. I will add to one of the things that I often talk to leaders about or go through coaching with is to help people recognize that thanking someone individually versus thanking an entire group, there's so much more power in that. Have you seen that as well?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It's that knowing, like knowing what they've done as well. Because, yeah, you can email the whole team. Like, yeah, you've got this done. This is amazing. But it's then about being a bit more specific, which then moves it away from that kind of just toxic positivity. Oh, they're only saying that because, yeah, great job, everyone. But instead, think about, oh, great job, X, because I know you really made a difference to this program or because of what you did. So it's about knowing your staff, knowing their strengths, and then actually, yeah, appreciating them for what they have done and knowing what they've done and knowing what they've contributed. So actually taking an interest within, I think that's super important because it's easy. And that's the other thing. It's easy to just say, yeah, oh, thanks. Great job. Because then you don't want them to think, oh, well, they're just saying that just to keep me happy. And if it doesn't come from the heart.
That's just the formality of
Yeah.
saying thank you. It is so interesting. Yeah, I've done coaching with individuals who've actually left organizations because there was never that personal connection. In fact, one individual had never met their leader in person ever after 8
Yeah.
years.
Hmm.
And so they didn't even know anything about them. So it was always this generic, thank you so much, or here's your bonus, or whatever it is, versus this is why I am seeing value in you. This is where you're adding
Yeah.
value.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Zoe, what do you think if you could give one note of encouragement right now to leaders of teams, leaders of families? What is that one encouragement that everybody needs to hear right now?
Okay, yeah, I've been thinking about this. There's so many, but I think the one that I'm going to draw on today and I really love is the same as believe and you're halfway there because it's like really powerful. It's on one of my affirmation postcards as well. It's, if you don't believe in you, like how can you expect other people to believe in you if you're not believing in yourself? And it really encompasses a lot of the things that I talk about. And it gives you that confidence, like just believing you're halfway there. So you're 50% there. So if you can just take that, and I think then if leaders can give that kind of affirmation to people who are working that, and we can have a common belief, you have a common goal within your organization, I think that's a really powerful thing. And it's not just you can take it from a work perspective, you can take it from whether you're running a marathon. Like I happen to believe, I think anyone could run a marathon. Like absolutely anybody could do it, but they need to believe that they can do
Mm.
it. And it's up here. It's the mindset. It is your mind is so powerful. Talking about that self-talk. So it is just like that, believing you're halfway there. And I did have a card when I first started my own business. Someone sent me that. And I think, yeah, because you've started, you've actually taken the plunge. So I just think that is something that is a really good affirmation and encouragement to hold on to.
I think so. That can be applied to so many aspects of our lives, whether that's
Yeah.
work or relationships or
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah. Can you remind us how to get in touch with you and where we can go to find these amazing journals and note cards and thank yous and all of those wonderful things?
Yeah, sure. So I hang out a lot on LinkedIn. My profile name is Zoe R. Bishop. And my website address is blessedbeforedressed.co.uk. So that's where you'll find all those things. There's also a ton of gratitude resources and other bits and pieces. But yeah, check out my profile on LinkedIn. I love connecting with new people and supporting people, encouraging people. Yeah. So I'd love to hear from anybody that would like to get in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today, Zoe. It's been great to hear and to just really break through some of that for folks that are like, oh, positivity. Oh, yeah, I have to be happy all the time. I think that this is really helpful for people to understand. We're not talking about that at all.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. You can't be that happy person like 100% all of the time. But it's just knowing, having tools to support you to try and reframe what's going on in your life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us today and being a guest on Stop, Drop, and Roll. I want to encourage our listeners to reach out to you, find you on LinkedIn and other socials. Be sure to check out her hashtag BBYD, Blessed Before You're Dressed, to start off on the right foot. Doesn't matter where you come from or what you do, you can always be encouraged. I hope you're feeling inspired and encouraged as you reflect, observe, listen, and evolve through whatever you need to today. Remember, true leadership starts within. For more resources, visit perpetualcapacity.com. Until next time, keep growing and leading on this journey we call life.